Hello, my name is Olivia DeMichael, and this is going to be my video presentation for my final research paper, and it's going to be Singing Red Face, How America Has Hurt Native American Culture. And now we'll move on to my presentation. So let's first start off with what is Singing Red Face. So singing red face is basically when someone who is non-Native American takes on that racial stereotype or archetype of a Native American through song and singing. Examples that people have done with singing red face is with music and movies. And singing red face is something that has hurt Native American culture. It has led to inauthenticity, misrepresentation, and even making a mockery out of Native American culture. And then let's start with another definition of what is cultural misappropriation. So cultural misappropriation is the intentional theft of tangible or non-tangible cultural commodities by an outsider with the intent to use for economic gain or the intentionally create a stereotype. So singing red face is a perfect example of cultural misappropriation, and it is also has encouraged cultural misappropriation. So this is a picture of an example of singing red face. So basically this is a guy that is non-Native American and who is playing Indian by dressing up in Native American outfits, and also has his face painted as well, and he is singing. We don't know, obviously it's a picture, so we don't know what he's singing. But singing a Native American song or singing about Native Americans, this would be your stereotypical example of singing red face. And then this could also be another example of singing red face. So these are a bunch of little kids who are singing. You don't have to be dressed up in Indian clothing to be singing red face. For an example, basically in as little kids, people would sing I'm a little teapot in that melody and go to I'm a little Indian and use that, which is a perfect example also of singing red face. It's not something that you would usually think of, but it is also an example, and it has also led to racial stereotypes and other misunderstandings on the Native American culture. So what has led to cultural confusion? So what has led to it is the combination of singing red face and cultural misappropriation. Cultural confusion is not always intentional. It's not intentionally trying to skew Native American culture, but it's through the lack of knowledge that cultural confusion come into play. So going back to my example with little kids, kids who participate in singing red face, they are also participating in a racial stereotype. They're creating in a racial stereotype. When you do that, you tend to think, through lack of knowledge that, all Indians I know do this. So then you start to stereotype them. Another example would be through movies, where in movies in the past, in like old Westerns, they also dressed up all Indians as plain Indians, which has a certain look and a certain wear, and they wear certain things for their tribe, and everyone then assumed that all Indians were plain Indians, looked like plain Indians, which isn't the case. So other examples of cultural misappropriation is blackface minstrelsy. Those are shows that allowed whites in the 1800s to kind of have a glimpse of what African American culture was like. And what they did was they had white people dress up in blackface, and they performed African American songs and dances that were actually not a part of their culture. This led to cultural confusion, and many people were confused as to what was a part of their culture and what wasn't. Similar to singing red face, both have harmed their respective cultures. So it's unfortunate, and there's been many other examples of cultural misappropriation, not just for Native Americans. So racial antipathy for Native Americans. So it was not only the acts of singing red face, but it's also the acts of playing red face that led to racial antipathy in American society. So in old Western films, going back to the movie example, Native Americans were always viewed as the savage, while the American cowboys were the heroes. So everyone knew going into watching an old Western film that the cowboys were going to end up winning and the Indians were going to get slaughtered at the end. We just kept on viewing the Native Americans as the bad guys, and just through all these acts, we continuously kind of led to believe in that stereotype, and continue to have a bad rep, create a bad rep for Native Americans. So through all of this, we did create idolized sympathy for Native American culture. So this isn't always a bad thing, but it depends on what we do as Americans with our sympathy. So having sympathy is not bad, but it's real, and having the impact that singing red face and other cultural misappropriation is not a good thing. But it's how we create that sympathy that is important in making it beneficial for the Native American culture. So for an example of this, Indian Reservation by Paul Revere and the Raiders, this was something that people viewed as empowering Native Americans. It was showing the Cherokee story, but in reality, the song was actually taken from Farden's cover, which was previously taken by Loudermilk, and there was a telephone effect with it. So basically, Farden's cover was revised from Loudermilk and kind of changed some of the lyrics, which ended up changing the story. Indian Reservation then took from Farden's cover, which then changed it even more. So it ended up making the Cherokee story inaccurate, even though it was originally taken from Loudermilk and the Cherokee story that he told. So this is a picture of Paul Revere and the Raiders. This is actually their album cover of the song Indian Reservation. So although they are not in Native American dress, which this is kind of to the example of what I was bringing up earlier with the little kids that were all coming together and singing. You don't have to be playing Indian in order to be singing red face. So although this band is, dressed in normal American cultural clothes, they were singing red face in this song because they were non-natives singing about inaccurate Native American story. And again, although they weren't dressed up as Native Americans, it was still very offensive, and they were spreading inaccurate information to people who listened. So in conclusion, singing red face has led to racial antipathy, antipathy, cultural confusion, idolized sympathy, and cultural misappropriation. So Indian Reservation by Paul Revere and the Raiders, intentionally, they weren't trying to participate in cultural misappropriation, but they were still singing red face and unknowingly spreading inaccurate Cherokee stories. So this is something that we, as in American culture, need to be more aware of. we need to stop singing red face and fix the damage that we have done for Native American culture. There should be more representation of pure Native American culture, so we can stop these racial stereotypes and stop harming Native American culture. So this is my video presentation. I hope that you enjoyed and learned about the cultural misappropriation that has occurred and the singing red face that has hurt Native American culture.